Hi, my name is Jessica Spencer, and I am with the Manatee County Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition. I want to welcome you to a very special new series that we will be hosting that will explore substance abuse, prevention, intervention, and treatment, and substance abuse trends in our community. Today we will talk to Cedar Hammock Fire Chief Jeffrey Hoyle and Firefighter Michael Dunn. Firefighter Dunn is the creator of the Your Life Matters cards, which we will hear more about in just a few moments. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today. This is a really exciting opportunity. Chief Hoyle, I'd like to start with you. How did this conversation start with Firefighter Dunn?
Okay, well first I'd like to thank you and METV for continuing to carry this message.
Absolutely.
It's very important. And we had been running a lot of overdoses within our fire district. We run with the ambulance service to those. And Firefighter Dunn had recognized that this just was continuing to grow, and a pretty compassionate guy, and he had a concern of what more he could do from leaving these calls, and you're not sure the outcome of the people. So he brought that to his shift commander, Mark Manster's attention, and they funneled it up to me, and I do understand the importance of it. And but looking at what our mission is as a fire department, I tried to decide what the best way to develop something and get the information out. And I had met you when you spoke at an event that recognized emergency medical service employees last year. And so I thought, with this being y'all's mission, the substance abuse prevention, that you would definitely have the resources, and it's a little bit bigger than Cedar Hammock, and I thought I'd bring you folks and help them along the way. So we made that connection, and then you've worked with Mike and directly, and I appreciate how y'all have continued to make sure he's identified with the idea, and which has I'm sure brought him a lot of enjoyment or appreciation for what it's become.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you. And it was our pleasure. I mean, when we did speak, it was a no-brainer to us of, yeah, absolutely, we want to move forward with this. How has this affected your station and your staff?
Well, I think it gives them the ability to feel like they can do a little something, and that next step is getting these people to get that help, and I think that's the real challenge out there. But to leave something behind so that when the people maybe come back, once they've gotten the medical treatment for the overdose, there's something left at their residence. If that's that low point where they're going to decide to get that help, there's a resource for them. So it's been beneficial, and Mike has made this presentation to the Manatee County Fire Commissioners, as you're aware, and right after his presentation, they donated $500 to the cause for the printing of the card. So it's been very well appreciated from the group and accepted very well.
Wonderful, and yes, we couldn't be more thankful for the community. We had an anonymous donor, and then obviously the Chiefs Association with their donation. Michael, how long have you lived in Manatee County?
I've been born and raised right here in Manatee County.
Awesome. Yeah. And what made you want to be a firefighter?
Well, to be honest with you, I just kind of always knew about the fire department and what they were all about, and I really felt like that fit my personality. And to be able to step into a role as a fireman to help the community was the stepping stone for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so where did this idea come from? Sometimes we hear, we just wish that they would stop using, or, we wish we didn't have to keep going to the same kind of calls. And there's a frustration that we kind of get from the community, and maybe even get from first responders sometimes. But this whole process, where did your sense of compassion come from for this?
Yeah, well, it's hard because as firemen, I think we're compassionate. We're compassionate to the people in our community, and it's easy to find yourself going towards that direction of frustration, or why do we keep going here? But I try to stop sometimes and remember why I became a fireman to begin with. And I've come to realize that the people that we help in our community, the real people, they have real hearts, and some of them are really hurting. So for me to be able to step into that role to help someone in a time of need, it's really, kind of a love that kind of comes from me in a way, Yeah.
No, that's nice. That's a really nice lesson, actually, for all of us that are in this field, that maybe sometimes we do feel like, oh, here we go again, or gosh, I see the same kind of client every day. But for us to kind of get back to our roots, that's a really nice lesson, actually, the way you put that, for us to just kind of get back to where we came from and why we went into this field anyway, and perhaps why you went into first responding. I love it. Do you have a personal story or anything specific, that brings you to this?
Yeah, with me being a fireman, I see an awful lot of things, some good, some bad, but I've seen people's lives destroyed by addiction, substance abuse. To be honest with you, I struggled a little bit in my past as well.
Sure.
With substance abuse and stuff like that. So I may have not been an addict per se, but I definitely struggled with it. So I kind of know some of the things that they might be going through. And I know for me that whenever I was at a point, every time you talk to someone, the words that they use are, I've decided. Almost every time you hear someone say, I've decided, I've decided. And so I decided to make a step forward. And what happens is when you take something that's so dark in your life that you're not really proud of, and you kind of drag that into the light, it just shines. And then whenever the light hits, that darkness kind of dissipates. So that's a first step for me, and it may be a first step for some people. And my hope is that the cards enable someone to make that step.
Absolutely. And I think your compassion, and a lot of the first responders that I've met here locally, I think their compassion that comes through with that is going to be really helpful for the individuals that you may come across. Chief, how did this conversation go? I mean, I know how it first started, but through this process and as we've been going these last couple of months and creating the cards and kind of talking about it with the different first responders and at the different meetings, how has that conversation been going with everyone? I know you said it was really positive and nice for everyone in the beginning, but have you noticed this kind of move?
No, we've had emails from out of state. We've seen this go into some of the trade magazines, the ideas, and so we've had outside organizations asking, and they can obviously duplicate the process. I think that probably everybody has a family member or a friend that they know that this touches, and so it's important to everybody. It's a huge crisis in our community. And if we could see the actual dollars that this is taxing on us, the resources, it's huge. Everyone recognizes, the need for it. It only seems to be growing, and it's, again, a generation that's coming up through this that you can lose. So it's very important to everyone.
Absolutely. I love that. And when we're looking at these cards, Michael, this really was essentially, this is your baby. Even though, Chief, you brought it to us, at the coalition to kind of push forward, this is your baby. And I remember the conversation that we had when I met you at the station, and we talked about this, and I really wanted to know, what do you want this to look like? What do you, as first responders, what do you think that this should be like? So tell me a little bit about this design, and why was this so important to you to be the way it is?
Yeah, okay. It's interesting because if you ask yourself, if anybody knows someone they've lost, whether it's through substance abuse or anything in general, what would you do to have one more day with that person? And so I tried to keep that in mind when creating this card. And if we get to a call and we have the ability to possibly help save this person's life, that could be their one more day.
Right.
And the crazy thing is, what if they decide, because of that one day, to take the step to get better, and then that one day turns into many more days.
Right.
And so, like I said, I tried to keep that in my mind when creating this card. I wanted the card to be something that we could be proud to hand out, something that wasn't abrasive, something that they could just take and even give to their friends or their family members. Something that was just positive, uplifting, something like that.
Right. And I appreciated too when we were kind of working on this and what we wanted the design to look like, that you didn't want any logos on here, which we appreciated from the coalition too, because there doesn't have to be a name attached to this. This is simply just trying to give people that one more day or that opportunity.
Yeah.
So, and even when coming up with, the colors, I thought it was interesting that you just wanted something, toned down and easy on the eyes and nice to look at. Have you gotten any feedback from members of the community that have possibly seen these cards?
I haven't.
No.
Mm-mm.
What about your family?
I haven't at all.
No?
No.
Because I remember talking to Kristen, and I know she was pretty proud of him too, so it was pretty exciting. Pretty exciting, and then just the family too. Chief, have you gotten any feedback?
I've gotten feedback from other organizations that are handing it out, and I think what you're hearing here is exactly what goes on. People don't talk about the problem.
Sure.
So you don't hear about it too much, and it's so hard for people that are going through it with a family member for them to get the resources. No one talks about it. It's kind of a hidden deal. And so I think that may be part of it, but we are definitely getting feedback from other organizations within Manatee County that are taking the card and passing it out. We're having people tell us, hey, we just had one passed out the other day for the first time, and our fire district, Southwest Manatee County, seems to be hit very hard. I think we've got about 80% of these calls that we've looked at in the last year. So some of the other areas of the county may not be hit as hard, but definitely the people that are passing the cards out, we're getting some feedback from.
Right.
So hopefully in time, just as sometimes a 911 caller comes back and thanks the rescue crew. So, we're looking forward to maybe a family coming back and saying this, made a difference for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you mention South Manatee too, I know that cross county, everyone seems to work pretty well together, which is another reason why, on the card we made sure to put other options, there for people if they needed to get help and what have you. And we've just tragically had some issues happen down in the college area too. Do you think that this is a vehicle for some education actually as well, to get out there in the communities and maybe provide some education that there is help, and I think we talked about that too, with the Your Life Matters, there is help out there is kind of the way that we've been putting that. Do you see this as a cross-county potential, education?
Absolutely, and as we've worked our way through this, we continue talking about doing press releases and things like that, and we've tried to continue to participate to help continue to get the word out there. We've got a mission, we've got to take care of the folks within our fire district, and so that was part of reaching out. As there's, it's bigger than just Cedar Hammock, and it is a great message to carry forward. And so, absolutely, the education is the piece. The people need the support, and how you get them to take that support. It's up to them. It's their issue, but there's people around them if they had a better understanding. And I think that's a big part of what this education needs to be: is how do you get somebody to take that step, to get the help. And, it's up to them, and you learn that you have to turn it over to them. But at the same time, if you can provide an avenue and you can catch them properly and understand how to talk to them about it, then hopefully you can get them to, take that step.
Right. And I think, Michael, you've spoken about that too, just kind of being available for people, a non-judgmental, person that can be there, at their darkest hour, and maybe at their saddest time of actual need. What I really like about this too is this does provide us that vehicle to do some cross-county work and make sure that everyone's educated, because we do kind of work together.
Sure.
Everyone crosses that line. We don't stop at the borders. We travel down into Sarasota. We travel north on our things too. And unfortunately, this is a very sad epidemic that we have here in our state right now. We did an amazing job with the pill mills and eliminating the pill mills, or at least most of them. But of course now, you cut the head off of one snake and you've got another one that crops up. So unfortunately, the heroin epidemic has been huge here. I'm interested in, all of us kind of continuing to work together and see what we can do to help. I'm even thinking, if people want, more of these cards, they're able to contact either you or I at the coalition, or any of us, at Drug Free Manatee. We'd be more than happy to provide these for other locations, and with the donations, it's been super helpful for us to press that message out. Can you think of any other places that, you know, this touches, and any other things that, you know, you, Michael, in your being out there in this and in this community, where you've been able to kind of express to people, hey, we've got this really neat program, and kind of get the cards out there more?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely starting in the right direction. One of the things with addiction is nobody's really immune to it. It can hit anybody, and so and we've seen that, you know, it's been nationwide. But like you said, whenever you do such a good job with one thing, it creates something else. But it's a good start for us, and I think that if we keep going in the right direction, that we might be able to help our community a little bit more, and see some relief and see some hope.
Absolutely, absolutely. Have you had any of your brothers and sisters in work, you know, come up to you and give you some feedback or ideas for the next steps? I mean, are there next steps that you can think of for this?
I think there's always a next step. You know, it's just a matter of when and how and where and who, I guess.
Right.
You know,
right.
And I think we're all in a good position to take a next step. I don't know.
I know you seemed really surprised, actually, that this went as far as it did. So
Yeah.
I'm probably catching you a little off guard on what's your next big idea. You know, where do you want to see this? Because I think, you know, when we spoke to and Al, you know, said there was an article that made it all the way up to Canada or what have you, and you were just like stunned that this small idea. You know, tell me, how does that feel? How do you feel with this whole?
It really helps because I feel accomplished. You know, the whole purpose of this card was to help. And so for each person that has the ability to hold that card in their hand, whether it's here or up in Canada or wherever, that's just another possibility to move forward, to help someone. And so the more that it gets out there, the more that people know that their life matters,
Right.
The more opportunity we have to help somebody. And that's really what this whole card was all about.
And that's what I enjoyed most, I think, about even our discussion, you know, when we were talking about the creating of this card, is you had no ownership of it, even though it was your baby. And I've told you since day one, this was your baby. You didn't want your name attached to it. You didn't want anything. You just wanted that hope and that your life matters. That was one of the comments that you kept repeating over and over, is that you just really cared about these people and you wanted them to know that their life matters, no matter what situation they're in. And I think, Chief, that was, to me, it's such a credit to you and your particular station and organization, you know, to have such a compassionate individual. And I've met other individuals. It's not just, you know, I know it's the whole group, but it was really neat to me. And that was the epitome of a first responder. For me, is they just care about people. You didn't get into this business because you just want to do a job and go home. You actually care about the individual, so it's really exciting. Chief, can you think of any next steps, or where do you see this going?
Well, I think, I mean, my first thought would be maybe through the faith-based programs in the county. A lot of the 12-step programs are related to the churches, so maybe, you know, touching that group. You know, basically just, I guess, the network that we already have in place, you know, reaching out to those people, and just, you know, again, the ideas flow.
Right.
You know, again, we have a strong mission at the department that we have to carry on, and so we have to kind of stay focused there, but, you know, both of us are willing to speak, you know, regarding it, and we've talked about, I guess, public service announcements, you know, drawing some people in, you know, that may have been involved in substance abuse, and you know, discussing it. So that would be my first thoughts. That's
a great idea, actually, and Michael, you have some great tie-ins to the faith-based community too. So maybe that is our next step. Maybe our next step is to actually maybe push these out to those communities, and then even provide some education in there, because obviously the faith-based community, their people matter to them, you know, and everyone matters. So I think that's a really nice segue maybe into the faith-based community, and then we can spread out from there. And then you're right, they have the different 10-step programs, the Celebrate Recovery programs at the different community places. So maybe we'll be working together a little bit more to kind of find and get into those organizations and get these cards out there. Tell me a little bit about the front of the card. Explain to me a little bit about where this came from and what your thoughts are on it.
Okay. When we first started looking into the design of this card, I wanted it to be non-confrontational, something that was relevant to what a person might be going through in that kind of situation. And then when we originally got the first kind of first design of it, I saw the hands on there. And I thought to myself, I kind of like that idea. Because, you know, when you're playing sports or something and you fall down, usually a guy's over there to kind of help you lift you back up, you know, reach out a hand to lift you back up, you know. And I thought that was a great idea because some of the times, sometimes we find ourselves kind of in a down moment. And all we need is somebody to just reach out and kind of help us stand back up. Right. And that's essentially what the front of this card is meant to be. It's to help people know that they have worth, even when they are down. That's why it says your life matters. That's the first thing that they see. I want them to feel a sense of worth in what they are, who they can be. I always tell myself, this is kind of off the subject, but just because you're breathing doesn't necessarily mean you're alive. You know, and so there's times in my life when I was merely just existing. And if I had somebody to just reach down and help me stand back up, could have made some steps forward. Right. And so that's what the front of this card really is. It's meant to be. And then the back of the card is when it kind of the rubber meets the road. That's where all the hard stuff takes place, you know. Right. There's all the numbers and all the fun stuff to take those steps.
Yeah, and what's neat too about, you know, what's on here is there's options too for family. So, you know, even if the individual doesn't necessarily get the card, you know, there's an option for the family to see the information on the card as well, which is really, really neat. So, wow, I love it. And that's a really profound statement from you too. And in fact, there's oftentimes I think about the Gandhi statement of be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah,
so, you know, thank you. I thank you for this idea, and I think the hands it's really symbolic of what you all do. So thank you again so much for joining me today. This has been amazing to hear about where this came from. And thank you, you know, again, for all that you do in the community. And for all the first responders in Manatee County and beyond, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. I hope you have enjoyed this discussion, and if you value what we do at the Coalition and want to join us in making a difference in our community, or just to see more of what we do, please visit us at drugfreemanatee.org. See you next time.